Recorded. My name is Crystal. I am the team lead mentorship program advisor with BCCA's Building Builders program, and I've been with the program since we launched in 2022. And I'm joined today with my colleague Mindy and other colleagues as well. And I'll let Mindy introduce herself later on in the session. BCCA gratefully acknowledges that we live, work, and play on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral homelands of hundreds of Indigenous peoples and nations across British Columbia, each with their own unique traditions, histories, and culture. Today, I'm speaking with you from the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I'm originally from the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, I'd like to introduce mentor Joe Hall. And Joe's been a construction electrician for more than 7 years. And during his career, he's worked on large commercial projects. For the past 5 years, for 5 years, Joe was self-employed in residential and commercial construction industry and with a focus on EV charging. And for the past year, Joe's been working as a project manager and estimator at Hewell Electric. Joe holds a Red Seal construction electrician certification, field safety representative, master electrician designation, and an EVITP certification. Thank you very much for being here today. And Joe, if you wanted to elaborate on any more of your credentials, we welcome that. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the introduction. And yeah, basically I started my career with a company. They're called Bridge Electric, and they do kind of large commercial projects. So I worked in hospitals, factories, warehouses. It's a pretty wide scope of work. I did that for 7 years. The time finally came. I felt like I was ready to start my own business. And so I left Bridge Electric, started my own business. And, it starts with just a couple clients and, word of mouth gets around. People, good trades. I mean, just good people in general, they say are hard to find. If you find a good plumber, you want to hang on to them. So you do a good job for a couple people and the word gets around. And, I had some ads up and eventually before I knew it, I had a pretty busy schedule as a self-employed electrician. Hired a couple employees, help out with the workload, and ran that for about 5 years. The time came up. Actually, my wife found a job posting. She said, "Hey, who's hiring for an electric vehicle project manager?" I was pretty happy being self-employed. I really enjoyed the freedom. The money was great, but that job just kind of struck me. Probably the only job I would have applied for. I really wasn't looking for work. Hool's one of probably the largest contractor in BC. So I just thought it looked like a great opportunity to work with a great company. As I put it, I said it's like playing for the Yankees.
Yeah.
They're a big established company, and I thought I could just affect a lot of change, especially in the EV space. And bringing us to a more greener future is how I kind of looked at it by providing EV charging services. So that's where I've been, for the last year or so.
I'm sure we'll have more questions about the EV aspect. That's a little bit new.
Yep.
So hi, everybody. I am Mindy. I am a mentorship program advisor here in the program, and I'm going to blast through our interview questions, and we'll see if we can kind of get through this fast enough to allow for some questions at the end, but feel free to ask questions in the chat and we'll keep an eye on them because we love engagement. So thanks for that background, Joe. Going way back to you starting in an apprenticeship, because all of these opportunities, I understand, came to you after the Red Seal, it sounds like. What got you started in your career? How did you begin, and what inspired you to get into the construction industry in general?
Sure. So I didn't follow the typical path. I got into the trades when I was 30. So I was working at a marketing and sales firm in downtown Vancouver. One day they came in, said the company was sold, and we were all laid off. just like that. I used a portion of my severance pay to register for the electrical foundation course at BCIT. And yeah, again, I was 30 years old. I was in class with a lot of people that were fresh out of high school. I chose electrical because I had a few friends in Alberta, where I'm from, who were doing it, and they were doing well. In Alberta, they all had nice shiny trucks. Um, but and just like you've probably heard, it's a steady industry. It's in high demand. There's lots of work. Electrification, but trades in general is in high demand. So whether I'd done electrical or maybe plumbing or HVAC, there just felt like there was a lot of opportunities there. Um, as far as Oh, sorry, that was just the first part of your question. There was another part about the mentors. Did you want me to get into that, or
Yeah,
did you want to ask that?
yeah, you can get into that. Is so at any point, especially during the apprenticeship portion, and so anybody here is not familiar, it sounds like Joe went in the foundation training, which is where you go to school for about 6 months to
Yeah,
complete your level 1 technical training when you don't have any work experience yet. So he made like a financial sacrifice there to stop working, go to school, get the level 1 covered over 6 months, and then apply for jobs, which I know a lot of our mentees are considering that pathway. It's a really big decision. Um, so going through all of that, was there a point where somebody played a bit of a mentorship role with you in the
yeah, and
decision
yeah,
making
great.
process or while you're going to school?
Yeah, great point, Mindy. And I'll just add to that, the foundation course is a great pathway to start at. What they kind of explained to me is that it demonstrates right off the bat to an employer that you're serious about this. You just spent 6 months of your time, you spent some money, you made it through the course, you passed, you're you're engaged, you want to do this, you're not going to quit after the first week. So if people are kind of thinking about it and whether that's the path, I mean, it's definitely a feather in your cap to have when you go out applying for jobs. They're going to look and say, okay, again, this person's serious. As far as a mentor along the way, um, not specifically during my apprenticeship. I would say, while I'm working, kind of almost every day, you're working with, maybe someone new, you're working with a journey person, and they're kind of, you're talking to them. They were in your shoes 4 years ago, so you're learning from them about on-the-job stuff. They're also kind of schooling you about the industry, about the company. You're going to kind of hear about how it works. So kind of again, it's an apprenticeship, right? So you kind of come in kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So you're kind of soaking up information, whether it's technical information or just kind of like big picture life information about working in the trade. So I think almost every day there's something to learn. But when I
Oh yeah.
actually, yeah, sorry, just when I started my own company, I actually did have kind of a mentor. There was a gentleman who I worked with who was just started to retire. So him and I kind of worked together. He did refer some people to me, and he definitely mentored me in like kind of the business aspect as well as like
Cool.
technical stuff, like how to, do specific tasks in someone's house and, not make a huge mess, or, just introduce me to wholesalers and, how to deal with, purchasing and, you know, invoicing people, making sure you get paid. So I did have someone to kind of like soften the landing a bit when I did go out on my own. And that was super helpful.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Um, so in the topic of challenges and growth, what were some of the biggest challenges early in your career and how did you overcome them? And then
Mhm.
you kind of already mentioned there were a few people or like your business mentor kind of helped you a little bit. It sounds like you had friends in Alberta who were in the industry that kind of advised you on getting into electrical early on. Um, but yeah, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so for me personally, again, when I started, I was 30. I'd been out of school for about 10, 12 years. The math, kind of being back in the classroom, sitting down, cracking open the binder. Um, like some of the kids I was with, I say kids, because I was 30, they were, 18, 19, they were fresh out of school. So they were, it was probably a little smoother transition. But for me, I was pretty stressed, to be honest. Again, I'd kind of committed to doing this course for 6 months, and they started teaching me stuff, and I was just kind of worried. I'm like, am I going to be able to figure this out? And with almost anything you do, if you give it your best, it's usually enough, So I made sure to kind of make my time count. I ask questions, don't be too embarrassed to ask what you might what you might think is a silly question. There's probably a few other people out there that have it well or have the same question. Same thing when I got to the job site, I'd worked in an office for the last like 6, 7 years. Before that, I'd done a couple, not quite construction jobs, but working a bit more with your hands. But it was, you know, a bit of an awakening for me to come in and, people are telling you to grab this specific screw and you want to just do your best, right? No one likes, it was kind of humbling as well. I'd gone from being in, a somewhat, good position at a company to being a first year apprentice on a construction site who, admittedly basically knows nothing. So, again, every day you're kind of learning, you're trying to pick up stuff, you're trying to not ask the same question twice.
Oh, yeah.
Asking a question is no problem, right? But just try not to do it twice. And if you do, it's fine too. But just I kept a notepad with me, write as much as I can down. Just do your best to be self-sufficient.
Awesome. Uh, and so on the topic of why mentorship, what challenge or learning curve would have been easier to navigate with the help of a mentor? So it's okay to move on to a little bit later in your career or as you're going through project management responsibilities or owning and contracting.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so thinking in terms of learning curve, how would a mentor would have made that a little bit easier getting through the growing pains?
Yeah, well, I think in any industry, I think it's important to have a mentor. It's important to have someone you can talk to who's been there and done that, someone that can help keep things in perspective and expose you to what's possible as you develop, again, in any career path, especially as a tradesperson. There's so many different routes that you can take. You could stay with a company, become a journey person, become a lead hand, become a foreman, become a superintendent. I know some people that went on and they went into first aid on construction sites. You could go and become a project manager, um, estimator, again, stuff that I do. You could work for a wholesaler. You can do business development. Construction's big business. We have accountants. We have a marketing department. There's so much room to grow. And just, having a mentor is someone who can, again, just kind of remind you, keep things in perspective that you might not necessarily be on the tools for the rest of your life. You know, you could if you want. That's great. Um, it's electrical and a lot of the other trades they're really interesting. You're not going to be sweeping for 20 years, but
Yeah.
um, there's just so much like you know progression you can make. So you might be doing I'll go back to electrical, but you might start doing really minor stuff. You're putting on receptacles, you're wiring switches, stay in the trade long enough, now you're wiring massive distribution centers. You're working with BC Hydro to hook up pad mount transformers. Like it's interesting. There's interesting stuff out there. Construction isn't just banging hammers and carrying bricks from the front of the house to the back of the house. You know, it's it's a lot of skilled labor. Skilled trades. That's the name for a reason. So um,
Yeah, you make a
yeah,
good
I
point
guess.
about the need for a mentor kind of bridging that pivot into life after the
Yeah,
trades. Like all those professions that you just named, we have a lot of mentees thinking along those lines and thinking, okay, I'm in the middle of this apprenticeship. I'm dedicating, maybe up to 10 years to life on the tools.
yeah,
And I'm just starting to learn more about myself as an individual. What the heck can I do after? And who can I talk to kind of help me make some plans, right?
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Just I guess just keeping things in perspective that and being able to see someone else who's kind of gone through and come out and is now doing something that maybe you want to do. And maybe you can work in HR. You could be again like a site safety supervisor. There's just so many different things to do And I think getting through your apprenticeship is just like, that's invaluable skill. It's something, you can never take away from you. You can't you can't fake those 6,000 hours of on the job training that you learn. So all that is just super valuable information as you go forward in any profession.
Yeah. Awesome. Great insight. Um, okay. So next question, we're on question number 4 of 6. We're actually just blasting through this. This is awesome. Okay. So what do you think you could learn from a mentor that you couldn't just learn online in a blog post or an article, or from a teacher in a classroom? Like, what does
Mm,
that individual really have to offer you?
right. Again, I think it's just having that understanding from someone who's been in your shoes. You know, every every foreman was once a first year apprentice on the job, didn't know which end of the screwdriver to use. Um, they know the feeling, they've experienced, and they've come out the other side. They can give you technical advice as well as big picture advice about how to handle certain situations. If you have safety concerns, or there's many different personalities on site, just kind of keeping things in perspective that um, in any industry, you're going to have different types of people, and maybe this crew that you're on right now is not a great crew. Maybe there's not good team spirit, but that's temporary. And for the most part, it's a really great place to work. It's just having that firsthand experience, and knowing what it's like getting up at 5:30 in the morning, and just knowing that in the end, it's kind of a team sport. You work for a company, you work for a crew. You're really all trying to get to the same goal, and if everyone kind of comes in and does their best, it usually comes out as a positive outcome. But yeah, just having a
Yeah.
mentor is just someone you can talk to directly. The people I talk to now, we're not always talking about career progression and stuff. It's just this gentleman I'm working with now, he just tells me about his job, and I say, "Oh man, I've been there. I know what it's like. Yeah, it's temporary. You might end up at a different site with a different company one day, and it's it's temporary. Um, and there's just
Yeah,
lots of room to
that's
grow, and yeah,
for everybody here tuning in. Joe is now on his 4th mentorship that he just started. And I just have to say, he's popular among our electrical mentees. They love his insight and his guidance. And um, I think you make a good point about mentors just kind of knowing what you're going through. As a common theme I've noticed with our mentors is they're all senior level workers in the industry. They are insanely busy and spread thin, and yet they come to our program to be volunteers to make a difference for people who are struggling or need like a sounding board, or they're internalizing some stress and they want to have somebody in the industry to talk to. So these mentors are playing an integral role in the success of our mentees. Okay, 5th question. How do you, Joe, hope that your mentorship efforts will contribute to the future of the construction industry in BC? So why are you doing this? You are insanely busy and you're on your 4th mentee.
yeah. No, um, I think Cal mentioned it, but he said construction's been good to him. Trades have been good to me. Um, I'm actually pretty glad that my company laid me off that day. At the time it seemed pretty crushing, but I'm super happy with kind of where I ended up. There's again, I keep going back to it. There's just so much variation to it. And from my personal experience, what I hope to give is just to give people again, I started late. It's never too late to start. It's great to have uh, an 18-year-old guy who can, lift 200 pounds and do it every single day, but it's also good to have someone with a bit more life experience on the job, and, maybe someone who has a family, and they're a little more dedicated to the cause, versus someone who's, maybe less. That's all I can say. Um, and I just think that, since I've worked for a company, I had my own business, and now working kind of in the corporate sector, of the construction industry that I think I just have a well-rounded view of it. So I just hope to, just let people know that, um, you know, you can just keep going in this industry. Like there's
Yeah.
so much, um, there's so much space and, ambitious, people with, you know, the right attitude is you can keep going. It's a super diverse industry. Um, so many different people from different backgrounds. You can all find success with the right attitude and determination. Um, I think that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, and the
Sometimes I just
final
keep going and
well, this is one reason why we chose you for our inaugural fireside chat is we know you've kind of had your hands in different areas and just even your entry into the trades is similar to a lot of our mentees who are having to make a big decision about how they're going to get in there, which trade they're going to choose and why, what it's going to feel like in the first few years, but also how they can contribute and give back later after they've dedicated
yeah,
15 to 20 years.
yeah, yeah. It's great. Again, that
Uh,
experience you get along the way is just like invaluable. And, you know, actually, really quick, I remember working on a site. I was the new guy. Within 2 weeks, they brought in two more new guys, and now I was like schooling them. I was showing them around. So it's like, there's always new people coming in, new blood, and it's great because you know what they feel like. I was literally felt like
yeah,
that 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they're
yeah,
kind of asking me questions, and I already feel like I have this bit of information. So it just like it really expanded my mind getting into construction. Like I learned, all these different things, that stuff you can use every single day. People call me, hey Joe, my light's not working, my hood fan's not working. What can I do? And you can just give people directions. Like you have a skill that's applicable to this world, and it's valuable, and people will pay you to use it once you get your certifications.
yeah, that's a good point. And circling back to our discussion as we were letting some people into this meeting, we were talking about kind of like what skills and qualities will be useful in the industry moving forward. Um, we have another mentor in the house here, Cal Duncan, who's contributing some insight there. I don't know if I saw any other mentors in the house, but everybody here, if you want to put a word in the chat or a phrase, just something that you think of as far as what qualities and skills will be useful in the future of construction, because it's an ever evolving industry. But Joe, just a few like personal qualities. How would somebody know that they're good for the industry? Like what kind of personal attributes and skills?
Yeah, I would say the number one as an employee, as well as especially as an owner, is being dependable, like being reliable. Someone, you know, there's this list I saw online. It said, these 10 things require no skill. And I think the number one was just like showing up on time, you know,
Oh, yeah.
uh, being able, some people being able to count on you. Um, these construction jobs are, they're real projects. They have deadlines. If they can't count on someone to be there, you might have been tasked the next day with wiring, these 15 lights. If you don't show up, those lights are not getting done, or someone else, your teammate is working, double speed to try to get it done. So just being able to count on you. I would say customer service is huge as well. We often don't think about that in the trades, and it doesn't always come in, but I think in any profession, being pleasant to deal with. If someone asks you a question, you might be working and the owner happens to stop by and they ask you a question. If you can just provide good customer service, it really goes a long way. And those are the skills that really translate when you get further in your career is, working with clients directly. Like, can you sit down and have a conversation with the vice president of a shipping company because they want to install electric vehicle chargers? So just kind of developing that part of yourself is great. And then of course, kind of like the standard things like, good attitude, try your best, ask questions, take notes. Um, trades, realistically, you do have to be in decent shape, I guess. Um, as you get more into like the skilled section of the trades, it's less about backbreaking work, more about kind of technical skill. Um, but you definitely, like anything, you need to be able to be on your feet for most of the day, carrying some stuff. Um, so just, but the number one thing comes down to attitude. You you can they say you can train people skills, but you can't necessarily teach attitude. So that's what companies look for. They look for someone who wants to be there, who wants to contribute. They take ownership. They do their best, and again, most of the time, doing your best is enough.
Yeah, I'm sure an employer can see that if you're the reliable and dependable one, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's huge. If you can't be dependent on, it's you're somewhat not useful because maybe he'll show up today, maybe he won't, and for the most part, people are, but it's just you know they, it's really important. It's really important to be dependable.
Awesome. And does anybody here have any questions? You can type it in the chat. If you have anything to ask Joe about his experience in the industry, um, while we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions, Joe, you want to explain exactly what you're doing with electric vehicle charging stations? That's pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah. So I was, again, I saw this job posting. I thought it was really forward thinking of who to hire a specific electric vehicle project manager because electric vehicles kind of have their own unique challenges. So what we're focused on is as electrical contractors is installing the infrastructure for EV chargers. So all the wiring, all the pipes, all the cables, circuit breakers, everything that needs to be installed, they say downstream of these electric vehicle chargers. That's what we do. So
Crazy.
it's it's a big push right now. They say one of the number one kind of detriments to EV right now is it's called, range anxiety, because there's not enough places to charge. Right? People don't want to get stuck in the middle of the highway and not be able to charge. So there's a big push right now to get infrastructure in, just like there's gas stations. Well, the gas stations are disappearing, but at one time there was gas stations on every corner. They want people to be able to charge their cars and feel comfortable to travel, um, and always be able to charge, well, wherever they want. Actually, BC Hydro, mm, don't know if I can say it, but they're they're making big pushes. I'll say that they're investing a lot of money, um, into EV charging, like having a network across the country. So that infrastructure, I mean, that's electricians that do that. So you want to talk about, uh, you know, job growth and job security.
Yeah.
You, you can look at how, heat pumps. There's big rebates. People switching from their gas furnace to a electric heat pump. um, kind of going green is kind of the trend these days, and everything that means basically switching to electricity. And I don't think everything can be electrical. Gas will always have a place, but it's definitely trending that way.
Oh, yeah. You make some good points. And we have a question from one of our viewers. Looking back at your career up until this present moment, is there anything you wish you knew sooner or any advice you would give to your younger self when starting out as an electrician? What would you tell
Yeah,
30-year-old Joe now?
I know. Hey, it's crazy. You know what? I have a specific memory when maybe it was after my first week, but I was just they had me working and I was doing just like first year stuff, and I remember thinking like, oh, all my experience up until now, I remember thinking this is useless. Like kind of sales, marketing, customer service. I'm like, they've got me in this basement. I'm mounting boxes to a wall, like, which was fine, but it was just I kind of had this thought that that's, um, it's a waste. But I would tell myself that everything you learn along the way, is all valuable, in some way or another. Now, in my current position and when I was self-employed, having these customer service skills, sales skills, marketing skills were, super invaluable. Just because, you're a great electrician doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a great electrical like business owner or maybe a project manager. So I would just tell myself that kind of like, trust the process. Everything you go through um, makes you stronger. Your challenges end up being kind of like your greatest successes because you come out the other side um, always stronger. I remember doing jobs when I was self-employed and I was like really stressed about it. We'd have to shut down these entire apartment complexes and drill into their existing system and kind of do this pretty stressful work with a lot on the line. And it was hard at the time, but we'd finish it. Thankfully everything worked out well. But I would just tell myself that, everything you go through goes towards building yourself up to be a better person.
That's a great point. I like the analogy that like getting a red seal in a trade is like getting a 4 to 5 year bachelor degree, except you're getting paid while you do it.
Oh
And
yeah.
you're learning a lot about like your value in the industry
Yeah.
as you're doing
Yeah,
it, right?
for sure. And if I would have given myself some advice, it would have been start earlier, right? But then again, because I came in at an older age, I was a different person, and I already had some personal skills coming in that I was able to eventually apply, and that's valuable too. So I think just start. I would say just start, just go for it. Um, network, networking super important. Um, one of the guys I met in my first year class, he was a total stranger. We just kept in touch here and there. And when I shut my business down, he hired my employees because he, at that point, also had his own business. Um, and yeah, he bought a bunch of my old material off me. Like I had this kind of storage unit full of stuff. So he took a bunch of that stuff off my hands. So just, yeah, like networking's huge. Keep in touch with people. You know, you're going to be a first year apprentice. The guy you work with might be, in 5, 10 years, you guys might both be foremen. Maybe he's a foreman at a different company who's looking for another foreman. It's just keep in touch with people. I got a few examples
Yeah.
like that where just having someone's number and shooting them a text and they said, "Oh, call this guy." They're always looking for good people. So yeah,
Yeah, the relationship building piece.
yes,
Like the
yes,
term
relationships.
relationship building or
Yeah,
networking, it doesn't
yeah,
tell the whole story. But yeah, we're constantly reminding our mentee applicants that this is an opportunity as they're meeting their mentor. This might be somebody that they are still talking to 10, 15 years
yeah,
down the line.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's so easy to just check in and if you're both in the same industry, you're always going to have kind of shared interests. And so yeah, I got buddies that are plumbers that I just met on construction sites. They referred business to me. I referred business to them, and so on and so on. It's a really kind of give and take.
Yeah, awesome. Great insight. Thank you. Crystal, did you see any other questions in there or did you want to say anything or does anybody have any questions for Joe? So we're getting to the time that we should be wrapping up and allowing people to finish their lunch break.
Just want to thank you very much and thank everyone else for being here with us today. We will send around the summary as well as the link to the recording. Um, and yeah, just some great
Oh,
comments
love these
here.
comments.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to. How do I read these? Are they in the chat?
Yeah,
Oh, here we
they're
on
in
the
the
go.
chat.
chat.
There we go. Okay. You are definitely not too old. Do it.
No.
Go for it. It'll be tough at the start, but in the long term, you'll be glad you did it. Again, I was 30. I had a 4-year-old. It was tough. I went from earning like a pretty decent wage to um, earning minimum wage at the time, which was $14. Um, but I just kind of stuck with it, tough it out. Um, and in the long term, it'll pay off. Investing in yourself is never a bad idea.
I see I see a final question here. As a newcomer to Canada, what certifications should be prioritized to prepare one for working in the trades? So I guess anything that they can do to round out their safety certs or
Yeah, your
intro
company.
technical training.
Yeah, good. I mean, anything you have going into it, depending on the trade, it's always beneficial. Again, it just shows that, okay, this person's interested in this. They took this certification. Um, again, going back to electrical, what I did, and I don't know if plumbing or say HVAC's the same or carpentry, but you usually just have to, you can apply at companies um, before going to school. But being able to go to school first, again, just kind of shows um, that you're dedicated and you're committed. So you probably want to look at what trade you're interested in, and then if you can, do some Google searches. Maybe you can find a mentor in that trade and kind of ask what their path was. And but yeah, it's out there. So if you wanted to be a plumber, just look up plumbing. Um, Same with carpentry. If you can get some on-site experience, that's great too. But um, I think they usually look for some schooling that you've already done.
Awesome. And I'm just putting the Skilled Trades BC URL in the chat for
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
because they have apprenticeship
yeah,
advisors.
totally,
So
totally. They're
any,
great. They're really great.
yeah, they have apprenticeship advisors, even their customer service associates, they can answer all of your questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I can also say that there's a demand for trades. When I was in school, there was grants, apprenticeship incentive grants, which may or may not be still around. But
I
when
think
I
it's
was
around for a
working,
couple more months.
okay, yeah. So when you'd finish one of your levels of school, you could apply for this grant, and they would pay for the school. I'll also add really quickly, sorry, when you're
That's
in
okay.
school, as a tradesperson, you're getting paid. You're getting employment insurance because the government wants you to, they want tradespeople. So you get paid while you work. When you go back to school to do your next level, you get paid. And then along the way, there was grants. There might still be some, but there's a lot of incentives for people to do it. So um, I just keep going back to like trades. It's a good time to be in the trades. Trades have been good to me. Again, Cal's been in this much longer than I have. And it sounds like he's had a positive experience. The people are great. Sometimes trades might get a bit of a bad rap. It can be a little bit like tough, but like, most of the people I work with, just great, super down to earth. People just there, part of a team, want to get the job done. People take pride in their work. They want to do a nice job. And it's just I found it was just a good experience all along. Lots of my friends, people I've worked with along the way, and we've kept in touch. And um, well, actually, my friend, that guy who I said hired my employees, he just had his first kid. So he sent me a picture the other day. So that was really nice. I met him when he was 18. Now he's
Oh
30 and he's
yeah.
got a baby. So it was a pretty funny moment to see. I was just like, wow, Dan. I was like, congrats, man. It's like it's been a long journey.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I
Great
believe
job,
we got
Joe.
all the questions.
Thank you.
And like we mentioned, this is likely to be the first in a series of fireside chats where we spend a little bit of time getting to know the mentors that are dedicating their time to our program. And we will likely make this recording available in the help resources section in Cronus. So you can access a little article about this. And we're going to put it in a section where you can even comment in a chat under that article if you have anything further to say to each other. Connect with fellow mentees in the program through the chat in the article. And Crystal, final words?
Oh, just I think there's just so many great people in our industry and in all different occupations and people that are wanting to give back and answer questions and share experience and share challenges they've overcome and what they do differently. So I think I just want to echo that networking, building a strong relationship in the industry, there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
And
Thank you,
thank
Crystal
you,
and Mindy,
Joe.
for putting this on. Yeah, my pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Wonderful.
Have a
Enjoy
great
your
day, all.
day. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye, everyone.